music's alive. Baby, on the east end, we can do it again. We can do it again.
Hi, I'm Tibock, and you are?
Gerry, Gilbert.
Hey, Gerry, I got a question. Where are we?
Well, first of all, you're in Springs, East Hampton, and you're at Ashawaugh Hall. And this building's been here since about 1880.
Oh, cool.
And we have art shows here every week during the year. And we're at the East End Photographers Group show. We have an annual show here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have about 28 photographers in this particular show.
Oh, okay. So I've noticed there's a lot of different people with a lot of different styles.
Yeah, we have people that are just beginning. We have people that are very established and work in digital, and other people work in traditional black and white. And people are doing experimentation, like myself. I'm doing some experimentation, and it's a big mix, a very big mix of style and personality.
How long has this particular group been going on now?
Well, we've been established since 1988. It was originally done in Springs at Tim Lee's studio, who's a photographer still in Springs. We used to meet there, and we had one show and established a spring show. We would have a show every spring, and we established this, and we continue to do it every year.
Okay. Is there supposed to be like a certain theme that every one of these is all connected, or is it all just, you know, whatever the artist personally feels?
Well, what we try to do is we want to have everyone do the best new work. So it's a difficult thing to hang because everybody's doing something different, but the idea of the group is to have people do the newest stuff that they got, you know, and the newest thing that they're working on, and rather than showing any old work. That's the premise of the group, is really, if you're going to do a show, you're going to have to do new work. And that gets everybody off their butts to do something new.
Okay. All right, let's talk about you for a moment, all right?
Okay.
I know that you've got some really interesting stuff back here. I would like to know, what is this particular style that you're doing?
Well, for me, this is something new. These are called lumen prints, and basically, they look like sun prints. And what I did was, if I could, I took regular black and white paper that you would use in the darkroom, and I put leaves on it and different types of flora, and then put a piece of glass on top and sandwiched it together. Then put it out in the sun for about 4 to 6 hours. And basically the chlorophyll and the water tend to give it some color, and you know, it looks like a photogram, although it's not. A photogram would be something that you do in the darkroom and develop it out, develop the image out. Whereas in this case, the image is printed out by the sun.
I see. I see.
That's the difference. And what I did was, after I did that, I scanned it, because these are a little delicate, and if you fix them, they tend to bleach out. So I scanned it just the way it was, and I created these digital prints from it.
Very nice, very nice. Well, I'm Tibock, and we're going to take another look around and see what else there is.
Great.
And appreciate you having us.
Yes,
Really do.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tibock, and I'm with
Virginia Aschmoneit.
Virginia. Got a couple questions for you.
Okay, shoot.
All right, birds.
Mm-hmm.
What's with the birds, if I may ask?
What's with the birds?
Yeah.
Don't you like birds?
I love birds. I personally
Okay.
like birds. I just want to know what brought you to shooting birds.
Look at the majesty of that bird. And yet the feathers are so delicate. And that's what I loved about them. So in each one, I tried to get them, you know, like with an attitude. Like this guy over here, it's almost like, hey, do you like my butt?
Yeah.
And yet there's still the, you know, the delicate feathers. Of course, the delicate feathers over there, he was just preening. And I just liked it. That's all.
I was just curious, was there like a symbolical reason, just love it?
Just like them. I have them in my backyard. These were not taken in my backyard, but I have them in my backyard, and I look at them every day, and I just like them.
That's what matters.
Yep.
So what type of shooting did you do? Did you do digital?
This is digital, yeah. With the D7. Oh, I'm advertising Nikon. Nikon D70.
That's okay. Nikon's the only way to go, man. Didn't say that, no. No,
Wonder if they'll pay me something for saying that.
maybe, I don't know. But, and do you know what time you shot these, or in the day? Was it morning?
Morning, yeah. Early morning, got up real early, got out there, in the soft light. Did some in the evening. This is evening light, this one. But the others are all morning light.
You like shooting in the morning, shooting at night? Or
you have to have the soft light.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then, and the side light. That's what gives them character.
Do you let it feel like you feel like when you're ready to shoot, or is it, you got to plan it out, or just go with the flow, or?
I just waited for something to happen. Find myself a subject and waited for it to do something that I liked. You get a lot of throwaways. Not everything is a good shot. But you keep working it, and working the spot, working the bird, and you're going to come up with something.
How long have you been shooting?
Since I'm about 10 years old.
Okay, so you've been doing this for a long time.
Yes. Yeah. On and off.
So it's a hobby.
It's a hobby, but a serious hobby.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate it
Okay.
having you on the show. And I am with
Michael Knigin.
Michael. I got a couple questions for you.
Shoot.
All right, for your art. First question is, why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because I'm really not good at too many other things.
Oh, okay. And how did you do this?
These are all photographs that I took at Carnival in Nice in April. And it was a spectacular event, and I just went nuts, and I said I'd never seen anything like this in my life. And I just started photographing. What I thought was more fascinating than I usually see.
What type of actual camera do you use?
I used on this. These are all digitally shot with a Fuji S2.
Okay. And how long have you been shooting now?
I've been photographing ever since I've been I got my first night knicker mat and graduation from high school from my dad.
Okay.
And I don't want to tell you how long ago that was.
That's okay. That's okay. And do you find yourself as
It's a
an
long
artist,
time.
do you find yourself as an artist developing and growing and changing and going with different things? And
Hopefully, because I work on different series. I do a lot of digital work. I'm a painter and I'm a photographer. So anything that has to do with a visual experience or my interpretation of visual experience is something that excites me. So,
do you have any thoughts on each one of these particular pieces, or?
this is just part of a whole group that I shot that I managed to get done in time for this show.
Oh, okay.
Because I worked at some of this is a totally straight shot. This one I took the background out because I thought it'd be more powerful. This one I played with the background a little on the computer to give it a different kind of feeling, so it didn't work as well as a straight shot. Play with the background with her. So and unfortunately I was in Nice and I didn't spend enough time at this carnival, which is it was amazing and just amazing. Went on for about 6 days.
Okay.
So and I shot it. I never saw anything like it in my life, and I just said I gotta shoot this.
Well,
I had no idea what was going to come out.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Appreciate
you. All right.
Tibock here, and you are?
Lissa Kiss.
Lissa. Got a couple questions for you. All right, one. How much time did you spend in this particular picture?
I did not calculate the hours, but it was probably about 2 weeks, going back and forth with it.
Okay. I noticed you've done a lot of different layers and levels with this particular piece of art. Can you tell me what you did?
I take a few photographs from a place. I like to map places. So this is just outside of Yosemite. It's actually in the park. This is Hetch Hetchy Dam in Yosemite, and this is a field that's a field as you're driving away from Yosemite. So what I did is I think this is made up of only 4 photographs. 4 photographs. And the water around the edges is the dam, the water in the dam, and this is the fence, the cement wall that goes along the bridge of the dam. And I'm just working with photographs and using them over and over again, and I'm basically quilting with them, making patterns out of photographs.
Is there any symbolism to this, or is there...
No, it just sort of was an experiment in doing a cross shape, and right now, to me, it has no bearing on psychologically what the piece is about.
Oh, okay. What type of stuff do you actually shoot with, like digital?
This was actually taken with a very small camera, digital camera, something you can carry in your pocket.
Oh, it still made a good picture.
It certainly did.
Whatever works, works, right?
Right.
All right. How long have you been shooting?
I only just started doing work like this last year, at about this time. So, and I've been an artist all my life and a textile designer for many, many years. But doing the photography, this is new for me.
Oh, okay. Do you always try to like look for something different, or you try to out-top yourself the last time? How do you work? Do you
No, it's really about, I have all my images in iPhoto, right? When I download my images, and I look at them for color and place. I take each place separate, and I look at the color, and I'm a painter, really, so I'm sort of painting with the photographs. And wherever I go, I just take a ton of pictures. And so when I'm looking through all my, groups of pictures, I have a ton of stuff waiting to be done. So it's just, it's never ending, it's...
I can tell you're a fan of color.
Yeah.
I know there's some people that like black and white for their reasons, but you like color. May I ask why? Is you like the life? Is it?
It's very interesting because I used to paint and draw, and I never used any color. But in textile design, I used tons of color, and I worked with the fashion industry. And so I guess I have a good color sense. That's what people used to tell me when I was in that industry. So now it's taken over into the art.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
It was
I really
nice
appreciate
to
it.
talk to you. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Tibock, and you are?
Carolyn Conrad from Sag Harbor.
Carolyn, I got a couple questions to ask you, okay?
Certainly.
All right. First, how did you make these pieces of art? Or how did you shoot them?
Well, I've been doing photography for about the last 4 years, but what I think is unique about my photographs is that I have been making all my props. I make them out of clay, and I paint my backdrops and my foregrounds, and I set them up as still lifes, and I use natural light that comes in the window. So I get cast shadows that fall onto the floor of the tabletop. It's really a tabletop that you're seeing there, but it's a painted tabletop and a painted backdrop. So, yeah.
Okay. I want to know, how long does it take you to compose each shot?
Well, it depends. On the rainy days, I make my objects because I can't really photograph because I need the light that comes in the window to cast my shadows and give me the right kind of light. So I may, on those days that I can't photograph, I'll be making my farmhouses, or you can see little shoes or chairs or whatever my props are. I'll do that. It might take me several days to make those, and then when I get a good sunny day, I'll set up a shoot for myself using the natural light.
Is there any symbology behind this, any symbols, or just, just the mood, just for fun?
As you can see, I've extracted a lot of detail in my work, so that I'm using just the symbol of a farmhouse or a barn, and it becomes iconic as these are up here. And I think that I set a mood by doing that, and it's there's a sense of sort of isolation and almost loneliness that you sort of have to come in there and be quiet with it. And that's the mood that is set, I think.
I noticed a lot of red in this particular one.
Uh-huh.
Is the red anything, or is it just...
Well, that's an interesting question. Yes, this was the last of a series I did of a series I called Red Shoes, and here's the red high heel shoe. And I had this image in my mind of kicking up my heels. It's never too late to kick up your heels. I'm not 20 anymore, but, life goes on, and there's ways to figure out how to enjoy it. And so I started to make red shoes out of clay. And from there, I ended up using the kind of red barn, because I'm living out here in the East End, and I see a lot of barns, and that's where the connection came in.
What type of camera do you use to shoot?
I use a digital camera with about a 7.1 megapixel in it, so that I can blow up my work if I need to make it large, although I'm not intent on making large works, but I don't want to make postcard, size work. So these are about the same size of the objects that I actually make. So.
Okay. And I want to know, every time you do a different thing, different shot, do you always try to look for something different, or do you try to have the same vibe, the same, in the sense of you're going with the same style, or you always try to go with different stuff within the same style, or all different stuff altogether?
Well, I try to work with a feeling or a mood for a change and for a while, and then what I do is, once I've exhausted that, I think, okay, I've said enough, and I move on to, say, another theme. And these are two different themes. These are two different bodies of work, really. One was the Red Shoes series, and these are the new series. It's called the Farmhouses and Barns. So I'm going to take this a little further and just begun working.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
I enjoyed it.
Hi, I'm Tibock, and you are?
Tom Steele.
Tom, I got a couple questions for you, okay?
Okay.
All right, first, I want to know, what were you trying to do in this particular picture? Because I know you got so much detail, and how did you do it?
Well, what I was trying to capture in this photograph is I wanted to capture the way that the mood that I felt when I first saw the photograph. With the moon up here, the way the light was coming off here, just as the sun was setting, and I really wanted to capture that feeling, and the feeling of the oldness of the barns in a way, bring out the character of the barns. And I really wanted to capture the peeling paint and the three-dimensional aspect of it. And so I used a special technique of photography that allows me to capture this in my photography. And what I do in a scene like this is I'll take a series of photographs of the whole scene when I find it. And then I'll put it all together in Photoshop and then print it. And what that does is it allows me to have a file that's large enough to make a large photograph with this kind of detail.
One thing that caught my eye was I literally look right here, and I'm going to myself, I didn't want to touch it, but I felt like that was 3D dimensional. I'm going, how did he make that look, 3D? I was going, you've done so well. How long have you been actually shooting, if I may ask?
I've been taking photographs since grade school, 7th grade.
Okay, and what do you specialize in anyway when it comes to shooting? Do you like one specific thing? Or?
Well, right now I'm doing landscapes. In the past I was a journalist for a while, and then I did fashion photography, and I did Paris, Milan, London, New York, the whole circuit doing fashion. But now I'm focusing on landscapes, and I'm capturing them like this in very large format, very three-dimensional. So that's what I'm doing now.
I noticed you got one of the biggest pictures out of everyone else. How did you get your picture to be bigger than everyone else?
Well, I mean, it's thanks to digital technology, really. It's the new technology, the new printers that are out there for the computers. I can make this file, take this photograph, then I can, make a file in the computer large enough that I can put it out on a digital printer, a very large digital printer. And then I'll laminate it and mount it and frame it. And so you get the finished product like this.
What type of camera do you use?
I use a D100.
D100?
Yeah. Actually, I use a lot of different cameras, but for this particular series of work, I use the Nikon D100.
Oh, okay. I was just kind of curious, And what time of day was this particular picture
In the evening, just as the sun was setting.
Okay.
Because you could see sort of the angle of the light coming in, and so it was just, as the sun was setting, probably an hour before sunset, actually.
And what about, do you know this location?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I was going to say, did you just decide, hey, I'm going to go walk around one day and see what I can find, or?
Well, that's how I do find locations, but I very rarely will find a location and be able to photograph it right when I find it, because the lighting has to be right, and the environment and the mood all has to be right. And so what I do is I'll go out and I'll just poke around and I'll find photographs that I like, and then I keep going back. And on this particular night, I left my house at I don't know, maybe 6 o'clock. I had a 6:30 meeting someplace, and I saw the light was really nice where I was over in East Hampton. So I grabbed my camera and my tripod, and I just kept it in the car. And I figured I'll stop by on the way to my meeting and see how it's coming together, And I drove down the driveway and turned around and looked at this and said, holy cow, this is it. It's happening. And, everything was right. The light was right, we got the birds here, they stayed, the moon was up, and so I got to work really quick to capture it. Because often when you come across something like this and everything is coming together, it often comes together for a very short period of time, and so you really have to work quick to capture it.
Wow, this is amazing. Thank you, though, for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.